Oh, no! We got wires! Oh, this is pretty great stuff. Remember how with The Devil and Max Devlin we were talking about that weird place that Disney had found themselves in during the early 1980s that resulted in them casting Bill Cosby of all people as the devil? Now with a slightly older audience in sight, the Walt Disney Company went about taking the era's most popular films and reinterpreting them as examples of a more mature House of Mouse. So Star Wars becomes the Black Hole, Superman becomes Condorman.
I'll get to that one soon.
Well, the time is now to discuss Condorman, Disney's first attempt at a superhero movie that's also trying to be a James Bond action film, that's also trying to be a slapstick comedy, or, as the poster describes it, an action-adventure romantic comedy spy story. What could possibly go wrong with all of that? Well, you could start with how the film was even put together, with the Walt Disney Company using the 1965 novel The Game of X for inspiration. Basically, a satire of James Bond super spy stories where the main character stumbles into pretending to be a made-up super agent, only to discover that he really needs to become one in order to survive a mission gone wrong. What it didn't include was Condorman.
This comic book artist is asked to serve his country.
Are you serious?
But the call of glamour, danger, and an unlimited expense account tempt him. He finds the life of a spy somehow attractive. The smashing drives in the country. The exciting floor shows.
Little cloak, little dagger.
The nautical excursions. Condorman, rated PG. Look out for him in a theater near you.
No, positioning the main character as a costumed superhero was all Disney. And when all of this was being written for the screen, the decision to add this, and a romantic subplot, and even more marketable gadgets was made to increase the possibility of turning this into a big-time franchise. Did it all pay off in the end? Well, you're on this channel, so... Woodrow Wilkins is a successful comic book creator who specializes in creating heroes that have a unique sense of realism.
If Condorman can't do something in real life, then I won't have him do it in one of my comic books.
He's what you'd call a method writer? The 1980s. They were a simpler time. It just so happens that Woody's friend Harry works for the CIA and is tasked with recruiting a civilian to help with an upcoming mission.
What do I do? Stop the first American tourist I see and say, "Hey, mister, how would you like to do your country a favor and drop off some secret papers to a Russian in Istanbul?"
Something like that, yes.
Like I said, simpler time. Now, we really don't have any idea who these characters are or what they're about, but whatever, here we go. Though it's very quickly established that Woody doesn't quite live in the real world with everyone else. I mean, the guy jumps off the Eiffel Tower in a homemade bird costume, right? But living in his own fantasy world is where he spends most of this mission and the remainder of the movie. So even though Istanbul is supposed to be a plainclothes civilian document exchange, Woody is a bit extra.
Woody, you were hired because you're a civilian. I mean, take it easy with the Bogart shtick.
All right, but leave it a cult, please. It gives me confidence.
Okay, so a lot extra. And it's in Istanbul where Woody stumbles into Natalia, the person he's supposed to exchange papers with, who's really a KGB spy.
Do you have a code name?
Does the name Condorman mean anything to you?
Condorman, eh?
Yes, Condorman. Vulture of the Western world.
Things get really spicy, though, when a group of thugs shows up to intercept the exchange.
You step aside or you will die.
I'm getting out of here. sorry I had to get so violent. But it was the only language they understood. Natalia.
Natalia returns back to Moscow and we're introduced to Sergei Krakow, the big bad of the movie who seemingly hasn't been informed that he's in a parody, not actually in a James Bond movie. Natalia isn't much of a fan of him though, and instead decides to defect with the help of Condorman. So by now you can start to see the core elements of the film falling into place. We've got the origins of a superhero spy Condorman, we've got the love interest liberation plot, there's a shadowy foreign, very serious bad guy, and it's all wrapped around this hybrid blanket of comedy, action, espionage. It's a strange mix that's only gonna get stranger. Now back in Paris, Woody can't get Natalia out of his head and has even created a superhero based around her. This is of course where any true friend would grab Woody and tell him he needs to chill out and take a cold shower or something. Not his CIA buddy Harry though. As soon as he hears that Natalia will only defect with the help of Condorman, he starts laying down the full court press.
I could get killed.
It's not a dangerous operation, buddy. It's just a simple defection.
The best part of all of this though is that not only does the CIA agree to provide Woody with all sorts of spy gadgets and costumes, but they also agree to build everything based on his own designs from his comic books.
Impossible. Absolutely out of the question.
If I don't get the equipment, I don't get the bear.
Okay. Get fabrication on it immediately.
And throughout the rest of Condorman, these are slowly trickled out over time, like when a made-up Woody meets up with Natalia in Yugoslavia and has to figure out a way to escape a group of henchmen.
All I carry is my trusty old cane.
Krakow hears of this dust-up, he activates his special assassin Morovich, who is clearly upset that he didn't make the cut in that year's Bond film. This sets up one of the biggest and most intense action scenes in the entire movie, which, up until this point, aren't exactly words you would expect to apply. Morovich, the glass-eyed assassin, is able to track down Woody and Natalia and attempts to take them out with his gang of black Porsches.
Let's warm things up a bit.
This is all awesome stuff, but you're telling me that this guy is able to get out of all of this alive? I mean, he makes comic books, right? Woody and Natalia escape to Italy where they are quickly arrested and then just as quickly broken out by Harry in disguise. They make their way to a small town and prepare to escape over the Swiss border, but it's here that Woody's comic book writing comes back to bite him. First, we flash over to Krakow, who not only has discovered Woody's real identity, but also that the entire rescue plan is all based around previous comic book stories he's written. Not only that though, when Woody, Natalia, and Harry arrive at the little town before crossing the border, all of the kids already have a copy of Laser Lady. You know, the comic book that Woody was working on earlier in the film that used Natalia for inspiration. So wait a second here. They want us to buy that the events in this movie have so closely matched the events in Woody's comic books that he was confidently able to predict what equipment he would need. And he was able to create a full Laser Lady comic and distribute it halfway around the world, all between the first and second mission? Forget Condorman. Woody may as well just call himself the master of time and space. Also, you'd think that Natalia might be a little salty about being misled and then having her likeness used for monetary gain. But nah, she's cool with it. Which is all well and good because things don't quite go as planned when it comes time to cross the border using Woody's latest comic book gadget.
Okay!
Марович? Да. Shoot.
Damn! I feel like this scene wouldn't be so harsh if it wasn't for those falling dummies. Don't get me wrong, they're incredible. They're just so unnecessary. So now there's no way that someone could have survived that one, right? I mean, there's gotta at least be some broken bones or at least a tweak.
I think they're gone.
This all leads up to the big finale of Condorman, where Krakow has brought Natalia to Monte Carlo, where he is hosting a big expensive gala for a couple of Arab sheiks. If she doesn't play along and act nice, a slow death in a Siberian slave farm is in her future. Why is it so important that Natalia attend this very public gathering rather than just, you know, be locked up in a guarded room that isn't easily accessible? We quickly discover that the sheiks are actually Woody and Harry in some insanely convincing costumes. At least, until they start talking.
Well, actually, what I said was, do you think our North Sea will produce enough oil?
North Sea? Ha! A Caesar salad's worth.
Turns out that they've cooked up a little distraction that, again, tips into the realm of over the top on the intensity meter.
This way!
Just a couple of good-natured pals, literally blowing up a public function all on the CIA's dime. Gotta love it. So while Harry heads out to the rendezvous point, Woody and Natalia head up to the roof for the big reveal.
But how can we escape? Fly? You're not serious.
Full honesty here, I'm very torn on this Condorman outfit. Yes, it's ridiculous. With the patterned onesie and the hoodie and the beak on the goggles. But man, I can't help but think that an 8-year-old me would have eaten all of this up. The lovebirds, thank you, land safely, meet up with Harry, and hop right into the big finale. Please tell me that a badass Condorman toy line was made for this movie's release. Krakow spots the Condor crew trying to escape, and the glass-eyed assassin reveals his glass eye, who orders one last pretty awesome action scene.
Thought I'd never get to use you, baby.
Just when they think they're in the clear, turns out the big bads have been waiting to surprise them this whole time. Again, it doesn't seem like there's all that much time in between spotting the Condor boat and then surprising them. Must be some quick outfit changes. So now, After all these amazing and intense action scenes, you'd think that there'd be a legit ending for both Krakow and good old Glass-Eye, right? No! Instead, the glass-eyed assassin just gets juked, and Krakow lives to show up in a sequel which was never made. Now, it really did seem like Disney had every intention of making Condorman into their next big thing, because the whole movie ends with,
"Sir, I don't think this man is qualified."
Nonsense. He got the girl out, didn't he? Do it.
Very well.
I'll get right on it. Have you ever thought of taking Condorman to...
And while we didn't get a toy line, there was a decent marketing push when the film was released, including a Baskin-Robbins ice cream flavor and a 3-issue comic book adaptation. Sure, it wasn't quite Laser Lady, which would have been actually a pretty creative twist, but that 3rd issue is actually a brand new adventure, kind of a sequel or follow-up. Was it any good? No. Woody and Natalia are now living in the USA and working with the CIA on a more regular basis. Krakow and the glass-eyed assassin are back in business somehow and attempt again to take Natalia back to the USSR. It doesn't work. The end. Oh, and for some reason, Harry's boss has gone from a middle-aged balding white guy to a unquestionably younger and African-American guy? I don't know why. He's only in like 3 panels, but yeah, there it is. When the film finally released on October 7th, 1981, it was slammed by critics for being dull and
lacking a heart, I think. Not enough care, not enough development given to the Condorman or to the woman he loves. That's too bad. This could have been a cute movie.
You know, it's almost as if Disney tries to do what other people are doing and just kind of misses.
This certainly didn't help Condorman at the box office, where it completely bombed in theaters and went on to lose almost $10 million for Disney. Hope for any kind of franchise or follow-up was completely out the window. But every once in a while, a little glimmer of hope seems to spring out of nowhere. Right after Disney acquired Marvel in 2009, Amazing Spider-Man editor Stephen Wacker begged his new corporate overlords to allow him to bring Condorman into the Marvel Comics universe. In the 2011 Small Fry Toy Story short, Condorman makes a brief appearance as part of a discarded Happy Meal toy support group. And finally, in 2012, we got a nice juicy rumor that Disney was considering a reboot of the character with a bigger emphasis on pure action. Now, it's been over a decade since all of these, and we haven't gotten anything. So it's probably safe to assume that more Condorman adventures have been all but grounded for good. Which, honestly, is probably for the best. The original film is big over-the-top silliness that's sometimes exhilarating, often sloppy, but almost always fun. It's the kind of movie that absolutely is a product of his time, especially for the Walt Disney Company, and that time has unfortunately come and gone. Honestly, the biggest question I have is, why hasn't Disney put this up on Disney Plus? It's the perfect kind of movie to stumble into, and would probably just continue to grow its cult following. And because it's not included here, your only remaining options are to pay one of the other streaming services for a standard definition rental, or pony up for an out-of-print DVD. I mean, even The Rocketeer had a 20th anniversary Blu-ray. Unlike Condorman, that masterpiece will get a sequel. One of these days. Please.